you have read a lot over the years about borderline personality disorder. You have seen it up close and personal, in clinical settings and so forth. So, you were saying.
Well, when I first heard that his side was saying that she was borderline, when I heard the psychiatrist who had done the evaluation, or therapist or whatever, my heart went out to him, went out to Johnny Depp, because instantly that becomes a very complex thing. And a real severe borderline person coupled with histrionics is a very complex person. And they are subject to some amount of control of their behaviors, but the control of the behavior is slanted toward a poor perception of reality. I thought it was very telling that the person who administrated the evaluation just was bold enough, which she should have been. She was testifying under oath to say, but it is blah, blah, blah.
It is borderline. It is histrionic, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought that was a real significant testimony, maybe not legally, but to me that was a real important testimony.
And what does that, you said that knowing that someone is borderline and histrionic, you said that's very telling. You said it's a complicated person. What other behaviors, and maybe just in layman's terms, even like if in our audience, if someone's never encountered one of these people with this diagnosis before, what is it like to be around someone like that? Or what are relationships like with someone who has that?
Probably, I could say a lot of people have come in contact with borderline and histrionic mental unhealth. It's the borderline, basically, in lay terms, is someone who is very, very afraid of being abandoned, of losing their close relationships. That is everything to them. And so they, in their minds, do everything they can to keep a very significant person in their life from leaving them. But unfortunately, their perceptions are distorted, and they do not cognitively register thoughts that a person who didn't have borderline would have of what would be the most healthy and the most successful way to keep someone in your life. Mm-hmm. They become very controlling. And yes, there are many degrees of borderline, histrionics, depression, you name it. It's all in a continuum. And so that could vary from person to person, but because a borderline never sees, or very seldom sees, where they are to blame for relationships, they have a desperation to them. They have a sense that I got to control this. Mm. And they don't feel toward that relationship in the same manner. They don't experience the same general emotions that a person who did not have borderline would approach trying to sustain a relationship or to salvage it. Mm. And they are their own worst enemy. What's interesting a lot about borderlines, and colleagues of mine who have been therapists have done intensive therapy with people who are wanting to get help.
So you're saying you have colleagues, therapists personally who have tried to treat people with BPD who were willing to get help.
Right. And it's as with anything, if you are willing to get help, if you recognize, you have to recognize you're depressed before you can go to a doctor and get medicine. So any kind of mental unhealthiness starts with recognizing self-evaluation so that then you will know and believe that you need to go get therapy. But I have had colleagues that support each other in saying that they have couples that come in initially, or perhaps more times than not, if it's the husband who's the wife has borderline, the husband doesn't even know what in the world borderline is.
Right.
He comes in because he feels like he's about to lose his mind. He feels like his world is deteriorating around him because it seems more times than not that his wife started out in a wonderful personality, a wonderful disposition, doting on him, agreeable. And then once they're married, it is like, who is this? She's controlling. She is claiming that he's doing things that he's not doing. She is saying...
They mishear conversations.
They do.
Too, right? Because,
yes, a big part of it.
Because you can tell them, like, and my mom has listened to the audio, some of the most telling audio of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard arguing, and like, and you can just see there's a huge problem with communication and understanding, right, with borderlines?
Yes, a borderline... I would say a lot of the time borderlines have no clue they're lying. Because their perception of reality is so different sometimes than a person who doesn't have borderline.
Well, let me ask you, and just and my audience always hates it when I interrupt. I know it's like I can't wait. I gotta have my answers, my questions answered.
I'm used to it.
But, okay, but let me ask you. So Amber Heard, like, we talked about how she's an extreme case, and she's like really, and she has done just some diabolical things, very premeditated. She has lied. She has faked stuff. Are you telling me that she doesn't realize that she is faking these things or lying? Or are you saying it's more complicated probably than that?
I think it's more complicated than that. I'm not saying that initially, or maybe even after she's given a certain story, she still realizes that she's adding to it. But it's usually more complicated than just blatant lying. I had a client, for example, who came to me, and during our sessions, she would tell me things like her father called her a bitch, that sort of thing. And she would be crying and lamenting. Well, because she was so sure that what she was saying represented the truth, she didn't mind on occasion Dad coming into the session. And when Dad would come into the session, I would bring that up. He would deny that he had done that. And she said, yes, you did. So at one point, finally, in the interview, that particular time, she said to me, okay, he didn't call me a bitch, but I have to add those words because you weren't there to see how that person treated me and to see in their eyes that they were just hating me and to see their body language. You weren't there to see. I could just see hate in their eyes. I could just see that they were thinking, I must be the devil. So since you weren't there, of course I had to up the language so that you could feel the intensity. Yes, you could feel the truth of it, the intensity of it. That was quite revealing to me.
So it's like it's almost like we could imagine then that Amber knows. Obviously, she knows when she's like faking a bruise, however she's doing it.
Or if she threw a bottle and cut his finger off.
Yeah, she knows she's done these things, but because she feels so oppressed by Johnny Depp and she feels like he is in the wrong, she feels like these things are a justified these lies are a justified representation of the real truth
of their relationship.
Wow.
And it is very hard to dispel that in a person's mind that totally believes that what this person they're married to is receiving, maybe they're not justified in receiving, having that dealt out to them. Well, of course they are, because you don't see how every time they turn and look at me, or you don't see how, well, he was walking away. What disrespect for someone to show me.
And she kept saying, and of course you heard this audio, at one point she's screaming, Amber's screaming at Depp, stop hitting me, stop pushing me up against a corner, stop backing me up against a wall. And you come to find out, not only is he not doing any of these things, but that is the metaphorical terms that she uses to symbolize how he makes her feel when he runs away. So to Amber, him running away from her, trying to get away from her, it makes her feel the same as if he's beating her up. So why not say he's beating me up?
Right, because to a degree, they realize that if they told you exactly what happened, that you wouldn't understand how this person was violating them. You have to they have to make it real to you. They have to, you're the only one who knows the reality. So I need to do whatever I can to make you understand the actual reality, what I'm suffering, the abuse I'm suffering.
Wow.